You found a $49 flight, one of those budget airline promo fares. Cheap. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. But between that price and the moment you actually sink into your seat, the airline will take 2 to 3 times more out of you a little at a time, at every single step. Picking a seat, extra, a carry-on, extra, the wrong size carry-on, extra again. By the time you reach the gate, your $49 ticket already costs over $200. Same $49, plus another $150 out of thin air. You think those are just convenience fees? No, this is a calculated, manipulative money machine. Every step from check-in to your seat is a trap built to collect. Let's start at the screen where you picked your ticket. The first price you saw is not the price you'll pay. It's bait. It's already painted the vacation in your head. The trip, the views, the whole thing. In reality, airfare stopped being a fixed price a long time ago. The price gets recalculated in real time. How many seats are left, what competitors charge, what day it is, how many days before departure you showed up. And unofficially, the algorithm also reads your device, your history, your digital profile. Delta has already announced that AI sets prices on part of its flights. Soon, 1 ticket in 5. US senators demanded answers. A system like that, they said, will push every price right up to each customer's personal pain point. That's why the exact same flight can cost you and your friend 2 different prices. But that's just the surface layer. It gets worse. The cheapest fare, the one you fell for, is called Basic Economy, and it was deliberately stripped bare. They pulled out everything that came standard 10 years ago. Seat selection, a carry-on, the ability to change your flight. And now they sell it all back to you, piece by piece. That's how a $49 ticket casually becomes $250 at checkout. You thought you picked a cheap flight. What you actually picked was bait, with all the comfort stripped out in advance so they could sell it back to you a second time. Then you go to pick a seat. You open the seat map. Half the plane is already taken. Every good seat is a gray square, and the decent ones still left cost extra. Another $40 just to sit by the window or on the aisle. Want to know how much they make off those little squares? The US Senate did the math. 5 major airlines collected $12 billion in 6 years just for seat selection, and they admitted it themselves. The price of the fee has nothing to do with what it costs them. And here's the secret. Some of those taken seats are empty. Nobody ever booked them. They're phantom blocks set by the algorithm. The map is deliberately shown as packed, so you think I'd better grab one before they're gone and pay $40 for something that's actually free. And if the trick doesn't work on you, 24 hours before departure, those seats suddenly open up free. The aisle row that cost $40 yesterday is $0 today. The seat didn't actually free up. The window where the company could squeeze extra money out of you just closed. Okay, let's say you got your seat. You're headed to your gate, and here comes the next trap. In the boarding line, the gate agent is eyeing your bag. Not because they're bored. Spirit and Frontier paid employees a bonus for every wrong bag caught at the gate. $26 million in bonuses over 2 years. Catch a passenger, make them pay, or the bag stays behind. But the main trap at the gate is a different one. Plenty of flights sell more tickets than the plane has seats. That's not a mistake. That's calculated. The airline knows some people just never show up. The algorithm works out the average no-show rate for this route on this day and sells exactly that many extra seats, so the plane leaves full. And it guesses almost perfectly. Only 3 passengers out of 100,000 get bumped against their will. Sounds harmless? Last year in the United States, 316,000 people lost their seats this way. Most gave them up for compensation, but 25,000 were simply not let on board holding a paid ticket. And it's legal in the US, in Europe, and in the UK. And who gets bumped isn't decided by some grumpy agent at the counter. It's the same algorithm with one goal: maximize revenue. Now stop. Let's take a step back. Up to this point, it all looked like a pile of annoying fees. A charge here, a charge there. Irritating, but survivable. But remember the number from the very beginning. $49 for the base ticket. Here's the shocking truth. On average, an airline makes less than $8 in net profit per passenger after taxes, fuel, salaries, leases, and aircraft maintenance. And that's not my math. That's IATA, the international association that includes nearly every major airline on the planet. Basically, their own numbers. And that truth unlocks a whole new layer. All these fees are not an add-on to the flight. It's the other way around. The flight itself is just the bait. The airline barely makes anything on it. The real profit is everything they pile on top of you. The flight is the cheese in the mousetrap, practically free. And the trap? A cash register at every step from the counter to your seat. Let's run the numbers on a real example. Empty seats kill the math. Fuel, crew, airport fees. The plane still costs almost the same to fly, so the extras matter more than the ticket. In 1 year, airlines worldwide collected $148 billion in add-ons. Seats, bags, flight changes, all the little stuff stacked on top of the ticket. For low-cost carriers like Frontier, fees are 62% of all revenue. That's no longer an airline that charges for bags. That's a fee collection machine. That happens to fly people around. And here's the key question. Who actually brings the airline most of its profit and pays for everyone else's cheapest tickets? The person who paid extra for the seat, the bag, the airline credit card, the miles. Those people are covering the cheap ticket for the guy in the next seat. You're not just paying for yourself, you're subsidizing someone else's flight. The airlines know this, and they play human psychology like professionals. Which raises the obvious question. If it's also obvious, why not just switch to an airline that doesn't do this? Because you, most likely, don't have a choice. Look at your home airport. Odds are one carrier runs most of the flights there. In Atlanta, Delta holds 3/4 of the traffic. In Charlotte, American almost 90%. It's called a fortress hub, a near monopoly. On paper, competition is policed. Nationwide, no airline holds even 20% of the market, and mergers that would make anyone too big get blocked. But they count nationwide. Nobody caps the share at your specific airport. So in its own hub, a carrier comfortably holds 70, 80, 90% of the flights. Add slots. The right to take off and land at a busy airport. There aren't many, and the old players claimed them long ago. A new competitor literally has nowhere to land. No competition, no reason to drop prices. That's why they get away with it. You simply have nowhere to go. But there are things you can do. Since I've x-rayed the whole system, here's where it leaks in your favor. First, the same flight. The same plane is often sold by several partner airlines under different flight numbers at different prices. Real example, the same seat. $262 from one airline and $196 from its partner. Find out who actually operates the flight and buy wherever it's cheaper. Second, when to buy. The day of the week you book barely matters. The legendary book on Tuesday died a long time ago. What actually matters is the day you fly and how far ahead you book. Flying Tuesday or Wednesday runs about 13% cheaper than the weekend. And book domestic tickets 1 to 3 months out. International, 2 to 8. Book too close to departure and the algorithm knows you're cornered, so the price climbs. Now you know how this system works, and you won't fall for the airline's tricks. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, and check out my other videos where I break down hidden fees, psychological tricks, and traps.